KJ here with you, the KJ Today Show, bringing you the positive vibes of pop culture, people to know, and pets. Very excited to have this special guest who checks off all of those boxes. Zack Ward, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, KJ.
I want to get right into your latest project because you are days away from a brand new movie that you wrote, you produced, you directed, you edited. I mean, this has got to be a project that is near and dear to your heart. Keeper of the Five Kingdoms. Can you tell us a little bit about what the movie poster says is a magical family adventure?
Yeah, The Keepers of the Five Kingdoms is my love letter to the movies from the 80s that I grew up on. The Goonies, Big Trouble in Little China, Labyrinth, Dark Crystal, Neverending Story, those types of films that I just loved as a kid. And I got to make this with one of my heroes, James Hong, and George Takei from Star Trek. So that was a fantastic adventure and something that I always loved since I was a kid, which is mythologies from other cultures. So I got to dig into that. We wrote the script, I directed it, we produced it, I edited it, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of old school practical effects mixed with new technology and Unreal Engine and set extensions and visual effects and that type of thing.
Wow. I mean, when I watched the trailer, I did feel that, like, this is right up my alley. You talk about, Goonies, some of those movies, like it does, even just from the trailer, have that feel of we're going on an adventure, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a different one in the sense that, like, if you look at a classic movie like The Gremlins, right? The first Gremlins movie, where they meet the old wise man down the curio shop and he tells them about the Mogwai, and then you never see him again. And with this, James Hong, when we shot it, James Hong is now 95 years old, and he's a legend in the industry. But the goal was to include the wise man, the old man, in the adventure, and they've never done that. So it's always been like the old wise man stays at home and the kids go off without him. And I wanted to include him on the adventure, and he's great. I think this is the first film in Hollywood history with a 95-year-old Asian leading man action hero.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. So how long has Keepers of the Five Kingdoms been this thing in your head that you wanted to get to the point that you're at right now?
Well, I worked with practical effects companies for about 15 years. They did, it was Captive Audience and Drax Studios and Illusion Industries that did Passions of the Christ, Bram Stoker's Dracula, Mrs. Doubtfire, all these giant movies, Benjamin Buttons. So I had worked in-house as an in-house producer with them for many years, and I loved practical effects as a kid. And it was always that joy of how would you bring that together for a film so that it could work for a modern audience. And especially with someone like James Hong, who is such a legend, there's such a giant audience and fan base of people who loved him from the films he did in the 80s and 90s and 70s. And those people all have kids. So the idea was, how do you combine both audiences together? And that's what James Hong wanted to do, was to make a movie that his grandkids could enjoy and see that their grandparents are still people and include them in the process. So, because we all go on this adventure together.
Yeah, I immediately thought this is what I'm going to watch with my nephews. And I don't think there's not as many films out there right now that can take, what you've done, which is, magic and sci-fi and a great story, and everybody gets to watch it. So a credit to you for creating a movie that we all get to enjoy no matter what age we are. And speaking of that, of course, we need to talk a little bit about the fact that, you've spent your entire life in the entertainment industry, and so many people love you from A Christmas Story, and you are a part of pop culture. You are an icon. You had this character that I'm sure when you were playing, you didn't know. You were a kid, not knowing that 40 some years from now, people are going to be like, I love you in A Christmas Story.
Right.
how does it feel, coming off of, you just had the sequel came out a couple years ago, and it was well received, and
Yeah.
people are still loving you from that role.
It's a crazy experience. Like you said, when I was a kid, I was 13 years old when I did the movie. I had no idea what was going to happen. Nobody did. And then as you grow up with that and it becomes a consistent factor in your life, it's not like you take it for granted. You don't, because it's this incredible experience where, like, I'm not a movie star. A movie star is Tom Cruise, right? And that's great. And he deserves every inch of that. And Ryan Reynolds is a movie star. I'm an actor. I'm a working actor. I'm a character actor. But the character of Scut Farkas is a legend, which is incredible to be associated with that legend. So wherever I walk into a room, people look at me and they've never met me before, but they smile. Like they go, hey, and then we get to know each other. But I get to meet people with a smile. That is a gift every day. So it's been an incredible experience, and I love it. Like people treat you like you just said. They treat you with joy, with a laugh, a smile. Like, yeah, I love hating you. I love watching you get beaten up, and you're automatically part of their life experience. And you get to see the best part of them, the part of them that celebrates with their families, that shares with their loved ones, and wants to share that experience with me. And so it's a really amazing situation, because if you are Tom Cruise or Ryan Reynolds, people are chasing after you and you have no privacy. Yes, you're a multimillionaire, but you can't really just walk out on the street. Wherever I go, people are just really nice. So it's an amazing experience.
Well, and I wanted to know, I mean, obviously that is probably what you get recognized for most, but for me, we reconnected because of a mutual follower that we have on Twitter. Hi, Billy. Thanks for this. But when I saw you, I was like, the guy from Titus.
Yeah, Dave. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that experience? Because, I mean, my many years in radio, Christopher would come into our show. I got my start on what is the Smiley Morning Show here in Indianapolis. And it was like when we would have him in studio for a morning, we didn't have to do any work because he just brought the energy. He brought the entertainment. I can't imagine being with him every single day on the set.
He's an amazing human being. He is so much energy, so much drive. I mean, the guy has put out, I think it's 10, 11, or 12 one-man shows now. And he is just endlessly working on new material and finding the funny in life and driving that to the stage, to his audience, to his fans. We're still very close friends. And I guess, we played brothers on TV and we kind of had that experience in real life. He's a great guy. Getting to work on Titus was an amazing experience. We did 3 seasons, 54 episodes. And there was Christopher Titus, Jack Kenny, and Brian Hargrove were the showrunners. We had a cadre of incredibly talented writers. Chris Sheridan was one of them. He went on to go to work on Family Guy, as well as be the showrunner for the show Resident Alien. That was on Sci-Fi Channel, now on Netflix. And you just get surrounded by really smart people who are incredibly good at their job and incredibly funny. And it was such a gift because, I was getting to go to this set and work and get paid to learn. I mean, it was the best. It was so much fun. My only regret is that we don't get to do it anymore, but such is life, right?
Sure. And let's turn over to your personal life for a little bit, because you are a cat lover, or at least a lover of your own cats.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about these adorable cats and the joy that they bring to your life?
Yeah, my wife and I found them. She had a neighbor before we moved in together 10 years ago, where they had found these 3 kittens in an alleyway abandoned, and they were tiny, tiny, tiny. I mean, if you find some other photos, literally they were the size of my phone. They were tiny. Had the blue eyes still. And so there was a male and two girls, and the guy, my wife's friend, adopted the male. And then the two girls, I didn't want any animals, dude. I was like, no. And then they were going to go to a humane society. And these two kittens, you see how they cuddle up with each other. I was like, I can't separate these little goofballs. Like, it's just, I can't be that guy, you know? So I adopted them, and they're jerks. They're awesome. I love them to death. They're ridiculously sweet. They're Maine coon. They're they're mutt Maine coons. And if anybody knows Maine coons, they're almost like dogs the way they talk to you. Yeah, I love them to death. And it's funny that you bring it up because I've been out at places, and I remember my wife Jen and I were at this place on Ventura, and somebody comes up and like, "Hey, you're Zack Ward, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." It's like, "Yeah, I follow your cats on Instagram." I'm like, "Yeah, they're much better looking than I am." Yeah, they're naturals. I got to work at it.
I have the same thing. I've got my husband and I. We have 7 rescues, and ironically, our 2 youngest, we did not adopt them thinking they were Maine Coons. But as soon as they got same thing, as soon as they got past the blue eyes, they kind of popped into Maine Coons, and it was like, oh, we're gonna have big cats. So I get that all the time too. I'm like, if I'm doing a live from my house, people are like, "It's great to see you. Let me see your cat." So, whatever it takes to get people's attention these days, Zach. If it's the cats, we do it. Well, so you mentioned that about your social media. You're very active. Can you throw out your handles and how we can find you and follow along with you?
Sure. I'm on Twitter or X. Who is ever going to call it X? That is just beyond confusing. And just to rail on this, I used to have the blue check mark. That was a raging pain in the butt to get. It was not easy. And I had to fight to get it and prove who I was, that I existed. And now every schmuck with $15 pretends to be somebody else who basically worked really hard to earn who they are. I caramba. Anyway, so on Twitter and on Instagram, I am Total Zack Ward, TOTALZACKWARD. I know if you put in your phone, it'll ZACH, but it's ZACK. Mm-hmm. So that's both of them. And I'm also on the Facebooks as the kids say. So hit me up and say howdy, and check out the movie. The Keepers of the Five Kingdoms coming out on Tuesday, June 18th on all platforms: iTunes, Amazon, Google Play, your local cable network. So when you're on DirecTV or Spectrum and you're scrolling down through the 10,000 channels and you get to between 100 and 200 and it says, "Now still in theaters," and then you can select, "We'll be on there." So you can press away. And it's just, I'm really excited about it. There's a lot of old school practical effects. We have a lot of prosthetics on people. We have a little person with an animatronic head that we have to puppeteer with remote control off camera. There's a lot of tech that went into trying to make this work. So very excited to see what people think.
Oh, it sounds so fun. We are looking forward to it. Zack Ward, thank you so much for being here on the KJ Today show with us.
Oh, an absolute pleasure, KJ.
Thanks for joining me for another celebrity interview. KJ Today, where you'll find the positive vibes of pop culture, people to know, and pets. If you like this interview, please make sure you give it a like, rate, review, and subscribe. And join us on YouTube the first Wednesday of every month for the full KJ Today show, where we play trivia, bring you more celebrity guests, and even a pet of the week to keep you feeling the positive vibes.